Hi, it's great to be back here on Itamar. It's Friday, and let's get right to our Torah lesson. It's been an amazing week. We had a lot of visitors from America. We had here a wonderful group from Washington, our dear friends from Washington State. We had a group from Canada come visit us as well. And we had a Torah dedication that took place on Itamar. Amazing story about a ancient Torah scroll from the Holocaust. It's not exactly, ancient. Well, in Israel, we talk about ancient, we can talk about thousands of years, but here we're talking about Torah scroll 80, 100 years old. But it's amazing that it went through the Holocaust, and it was redone and dedicated by a very special man from the United States. And it was now placed inside our new synagogue set up by Givat Aryeh, our new neighborhood, built after the Fogel massacre. And we do bless this whole new neighborhood that should grow and become strong, and they should read from this Torah, and it's a beautiful thing. And as a matter of fact, we have it on YouTube here, the Torah dedication. So it's only about 7 or so minutes. If you have patience, you should watch it and feel that you're marching with us and celebrating this Torah dedication. This week's lesson I want to dedicate in the name of Matan Zagon, who was killed 9 years ago from Itamar. He was the first Itamar officer, army officer, and he was in Ariel when he saw a terrorist running towards a bus stop. He charged the terrorist who was carrying a suicide belt, bombs. He jumped on him. He blew up with the terrorist, and thus saving the lives of the many, many people that were by the bus stop. He gave his life for others. His name was Matan, meaning to give over. And this lesson, of course, he gave over his whole life. And this lesson will be said in his name. This week's portion opens up with a story of Chayey Sarah. It talks about the life of Sarah Imenu, her beautiful life, the matriarch of Israel, Sarah. What happened? What led to her passing away now? Now, our rabbis teach us that when Abraham and Isaac came back from the Akedah, from the whole famous story of Isaac being offered up on the altar, and just this thought, when she found out that her son was almost offered up an offering to God, it caused such pain that, or whatever it was, that her soul left her and she passed away. So think about that, Abraham and Isaac, how happy they were, knowing that it's just a trial that Hashem gave them, a test over here. At the end, Isaac wasn't offered as an offering, and he survived, and they come back home so happy, full of such happiness. And all of a sudden, Abraham has to deal with his wife passing away, and Isaac has to deal with his mother passing away. Very, very painful. A wonderful husband and wife, a team of lovers of Hashem, that their whole lives were devoted to setting the way, the path for returning to God in the house of Israel. Sarah would bring the women back to Torah, and Abraham, the men. And they had a beautiful yeshiva, a house of study. That's what their whole lives were all about, of just giving over to others. And Abraham was so in love with his wife, such a happy couple. And he comes home after all this and to hear the terrible news that his wife passed away. This was very, very, very painful, obviously, and very, very sad. And this whole concept of, on one hand, an amazing happiness of overcoming a difficult trial. Sometimes when you achieve something so powerful, wow, you feel so happy, and all of a sudden, sometimes something bad can happen on the other hand, and that's exactly what we're talking about. Mesiut Nefesh, giving over of yourself, where Isaac was willing to give over completely himself, to submit himself to being an offering, and on the other hand, someone, although a happy ending did take place, but of course his mother died from this story. So this was a very, very painful test for Abraham, for the family. What is the Zohar Kadosh? A friend of mine, a very good friend, brought down a beautiful concept where the Zohar Kadosh says, what is the meaning of Chayey Sarah? 100 shana, 20 shana, b'sheva shanim. 100 years, 20 years, and 7 years. But if you read the Hebrew, it says 100 years, 20 years, and 7 year. So the singular is used for year, for 7, whereas the plural is used for numbers that are over 10. And the question is why? And that's the Hebrew grammatical rule. If you have, once the number is over 10, you can call it Shana, you can call it year, you can use the singular form. But the Zohar Kadosh says something so beautiful, that in this world, the world, what seems to be a lot, big numbers, are really singular. And what seems to be small numbers, they're really a lot. And the idea was trying to say is, in this world, those who make themselves a lot, they think they're really big and arrogant and full of hot air, as we say, they're really small. But those who don't live with arrogance and with such pride, but they're very modest individuals, and they make themselves very, very small, they're really big. They're really a lot. And this beautiful concept the Zohar Kadosh brings down here on this week's portion of Chayey Sarah. So I thought to myself, why is it brought down here and not in other areas in the Torah? It could have been brought down in many other places, the Zohar Kadosh. He could have written this concept about year, which is mentioned many places in the Bible, in the Torah. And I thought that if we look at this Sarah Imenu, what kind of example she was, and her and her husband, of modesty, of such true modesty. And as we say, people who make themselves small in this world and don't look for honor and don't look for glory and don't look to be arrogant and above others. That is what she was all about. Sarah and Abraham and Isaac, and these really are the true leaders of the world, without wanting to be the most simplest people. And this, of course, will connect to Matan, as I will talk about our dear army officer that was murdered. Look at Sarah's life. First of all, many years suffering without having a child. We know how painful it is for a couple to get married, and so badly they want to have a child to continue their line and to give over their love and their wonderful gifts that God gave them. They want to give to someone, and there's no one closer than giving it over to a child. And so many years they were praying for a child. And Sarah said, well, it looks like it's not going to happen. And she accepted this, and she said, I have a maidservant, and I might as well have my husband give over, come to my maidservant, and hopefully they can build a child. And then this child, of course, Sarah thought should be raised in her house, and this would be a continuation for Abraham, her husband. So again, how many women would be willing to take their husband and say, listen, guy, we have no children, let me have a great friend, why don't you have a child with that woman? That's obviously would be pretty painful. But here again, Sarah is looking at herself as nothing. She's just a vessel in this world, and she wants to give so much of herself. And she's willing for her husband to marry someone else. And although it's obviously going to be painful for her, but in order to have a continuation. That's one small example of Sarah Imenu, of Sarah. But we see again how Sarah comes with Abraham and travels to the land of Israel together with Abraham. Was tested, and God said, go to the land I will show you. And who was at his side? Sarah was at his side, willing to leave her home together with Abraham. But no one, her name is barely mentioned there. But he couldn't do it without his wife. She was right there at his side. And then we see here in this week's portion itself where Abraham, when he wants to bury his wife, he was told by God, this is your land, I'm giving it to you as a gift, but he didn't make himself again as the boss of everybody else. He politely requested a piece of land to bury Sarah, and he wanted to pay a high price for that. And Abraham's whole life again was a life of modesty. When he won the battles of the 4 kings over the 5 kings, and he actually, after that war, and he actually saved his nephew Lot, we read about how he didn't want a shoelace for himself. He refused to accept. Everything is from God. Completely, this world for him, this world of materialism, is absolutely nothing for Abraham. His whole life is to give over to others and to teach others and to give. And this was the existence of Abraham and Sarah. And therefore, this is why the Zohar teaches the lesson of those who make themselves small in this world are really really the greatest people. They're really the biggest individuals. And this is what giving over of ourselves is all about. Here we are in Itamar, a community. Beautiful community. It's an amazing place in the land of Israel, which we had the wonderful privilege of being here and building the land. And such modest individuals live here. And one of them, this great soldier, Matan, a young soldier, an army officer, who just so naturally, when he saw a terrorist with this suicide bomber running after to kill people. He thought immediately of caring and stopping him, caring about others and saving lives. Nothing about himself, just about others. And he gave his life. And this again is the same. This is the genes of Abraham and Sarah that are flowing within God's children, of building and self-sacrificing for the land of Israel. Self-sacrifice. Sometimes I say to myself, wow, we look at the Akedah, we look at the whole story of Isaac, and it had a happy ending. Sometimes we see here, unfortunately, there's so many incidents without happy endings, how many people have to give and self-sacrifice, and we don't see the happy ending right away. But of course, I think when we look and reflect on Sarah and the stories of our forefathers, we see at the end, yes, there will be a happy ending, because this world is a temporary world, of course we know. And the whole most important thing for our lives is to be willing to give the most dear of ourselves to God, to the land, to God's people. And this is exactly what Matan did. It's exactly, of course, what Sarah did. She gave herself completely. Complete self-sacrifice as a mother. And saying, against what I mentioned before, when she gave to Abraham Hagar, and completely, she was a woman of a tent, modesty of being inside, and so much from that little tent that she had, how much power did she give to the world, and how much energy she gave to the world, that wonderful woman. And this is a lesson of Chayey Sarah. Chayey Sarah. Interesting, both cases in the Bible it talks about when someone passing away, it says, Vayamot, and he died. And here it's a stress of Chayey Sarah, the life. The life is stressed, that she was a woman on this world of life, of giving of herself, and completely giving herself without wanting to take anything for herself. And this is a lesson of Zohar Kadosh. Again, this is what these great martyrs have given their lives for the land. Just the Fogel family, just a few months ago, of here living in the land of in Israel and building the land, and just being here, just wanting to serve Hashem and build the land, and here's someone coming in and murdering them just for one reason, only because they're Jews living in the land of Israel. But that we call self-sacrifice. No one wants to give themselves and die. People want to live this world 120 years, but if it comes to our doorstep, and to them it literally came to the doorstep, then we see the willingness of giving one's life for the land and for God. And that's the whole story again of the Akedah, as we mentioned before, the Isaac's offering. And this again is within the power of the nation of Israel. These qualities were given over to the children. And we see again how the nation of Israel had to pay such a big price over the years. Thousands of years in exile and terrible, terrible inquisitions and suffering, until finally the land was returned to us after so many years. And this always goes together, sometimes the building of the land and the growing together with the sacrifice. This is part of this world, this temporary world, which things, again, are always opposite here. What's good is looked at as not good, unfortunately. What's bad is put on a pole up there and glorified. The evil is glorified in this world, unfortunately, in many, many instances. And we have to turn that around and show the true light of Hashem in this world. Well, it's quite a task. And again, let us remember Matan, this wonderful boy, and all those others who gave their life for fighting for the land, for wanting to help others and just do good in this world. Because they are the examples of what a true, close connection a person has with God when he's willing to give himself everything he has just to sanctify Hashem's name, God's name. Well, it's been great to be back again. Have a wonderful Shabbat, and we will be in touch soon again. Shabbat Shalom. Bye-bye.